one thing. That means that you're starting the week off with a victory. You're establishing a win when it comes to your business. And regardless of the mess that is going on outdoors or has gone on yesterday, you're willing to put one foot in front of the next and go out there today, pick up the phone or exit your home and go out and make money. All right, so I got all the things where they're supposed to be. And good morning and welcome into a snow-filled Monday, January the 26th. We're already in the final week of January in 2026. Pretty crazy, right? When you think of things, they all move very, very quickly. When you think of the calendar, that is. And when you think of New Year's resolutions and fast starts and fresh, new, and everything that you want to do, when it all begins, it begins to move very quickly. As we get settled in this week, I want you to remember this is the last week of January, and all those goals and expectations and things that you wanted to accomplish are secondary to setting the framework for that in January. New Year's resolutions sound great, but if they would just say January resolutions, I imagine more people would accomplish them. Yearly goals sound great, but guess what? You're not going to accomplish a yearly goal in a month. If you did, it was probably fraudulent. Not you, but if somebody else claimed that they did. So focus on establishing that base of what you want to accomplish this year, this month, and in the final week of January that we have in front of us. Couple quick programming notes as we get together this morning and we give a few more folks a chance to join us. First, once you register for our new format here in Zoom, you don't need to register again. All that you need to do is save the link somewhere where it's easily accessible to you. And here's another trick that I've always done and will always do, and that's taking my phone, going to the alarm section, and setting an alarm for 8:55 a.m. Eastern, or 5 minutes before whatever the call is, local time for you. Before the alarm would go off, and then I pick up the phone, and I gotta get used to not doing that, but I still always have that little 8:55 reminder, even though I'm running the show. So, might be a good idea for you as well. Next, programming notes. I would suggest, I would encourage, I would invite you to take the webinar link that you used to originally sign up and send it to somebody else. Here's the thing. This format that we have here, Monday through Friday, is a key part of what we do as an agency, of course. But it's an open format for anybody. Anybody in sales, anybody in final expense, anybody in Medicare, anybody looking to get into the business, anybody getting through their pre-licensing course. So someone that might just be curious about what you're doing and asked once over a weekend or wherever, send them the link, let them check it out. They might stop in once and say this isn't for them. They might come in once in a while like that regular you see every so often at the local restaurant, or they might be a core figure of what we do and are here 250 days out of the year. So all I ask of you is when you're talking shop with somebody else, send them this link, invite them to watch and or listen in, and give them the same chance that you have. All right, so today, over the course of the next 30 to 35 minutes, we're going to go over what's new, giving you something exciting, likely new, refreshing, and worth getting excited about. Why am I doing that this year instead of just a cold open? Well, the business can be a mental grind. The battle of once you've mastered the mundane can really make you wonder if you should reinvent the wheel or go off and do something different. But keeping new allows you to stay fresh and excited about what you're doing. Also, to consistently remind us and those around us that we have and offer things that they may have never heard of before and are definitely worth taking a look at. I'm going to go afterwards into our topic of the day. And instead of me talking and then that person talking, we're going to go through the topic together. Our typical Monday co-host, Don Wilson, will be on with me in just a few minutes. And we're going to be talking about staying in the box, making a baseball reference here in the middle of the winter, with practical ways that you can still write business this week. Regardless of the weather, wherever you are and however you sell, practical ways that you can write business. Now stay on till the end because you never know when you're going to hear the one thing that you encounter on the phone or in the field this week that if you didn't hear it, you wouldn't be able to convert that situation into a sale. See, that's what this is all about at the most micro level. Besides the routines and the community, the concepts and the training, the news that you can use and information that you hear before nobody else does, it's that one little thing that you hear from myself, from Dom, from one of the other agents during the course of the week that you put away back here. And then that thing happens during the week, whatever that thing is. And now because you know what it was and what to do, you can adjust for it and deal with it or write with it or overcome it or whatever that is. And without that little piece of additional information, you miss the sale or you don't know how to manage the situation and you are one step further behind than you could have been by just simply being here. So, thank you for doing so. Now, before we get into how to shovel our way through this week, let's talk a little bit about what's up and what's new. Well, the what's up and what's new for today is the Loyal CRM. I was toying with the idea of maybe calling the CRM something different, but that's a challenge for a different day. Obviously, our CRM is built on the Agent CRM chassis, which provides an unfettered access to expert help, updates, and assistance throughout the course of its development, and everything that we need. I jokingly said with Alex Branning, it's kind of like you just gave me the coloring book, and now I can color it in the way I want it to look. I'm a huge fan of that personally. But what am I trying to say here? I'm saying that several of you on Friday took the necessary steps to sign up and allow us to set it up for you. With more people jumping on board, this rollout is really starting to take off. And why are you willing to and why should you invest the money necessary? Well, here's a couple reasons. I had an agent reach out tail end of last week and voice a noted frustration with the amount of appointments that were set. Not angry, not upset, not irrational, data-driven points. Perfect. Let's talk about a solution and see if the solution makes the problem less of a problem. So I looked at it, I thought about it, and I said, all right, well, here's what we can do. Let's set up the Wave Dialer, let's set up the CRM, and let's give the appointment setter all the technology tools necessary to increase the results that we're getting. So the CRM that folks have signed up for, and I encourage others to do so, includes the Wave Dialer. What the heck is the Wave Dialer? Because another agent asked me that on Friday. Well, the Wave Dialer is a dialing system, best way I could describe it, that allows you or the appointment setter to increase their pickup rates. It gives our appointment setting team the ability to work more efficiently by cycling through phone numbers, spam protecting the phone numbers, eventually multi-line dialing through all of your leads and getting more people to pick up the phone. That's one of the biggest challenges that you could ever expect to encounter, and technology is one of the best ways to overcome it. Of course, adding in the CRM, the Wave Dialer comes in the CRM, but the CRM allows you or your appointment setter or both to more efficiently work through the leads, put automation on their side, help them stay organized and where they are and what they're doing, backfill with stuff from last week or the week before, switch columns and call people you already sold this year, last year, or a decade ago. The reality is it's just simply improving efficiency and using technology to overcome the typical levels of adversity that are present in what we do. I got a good example for you. So I was out shoveling yesterday, obviously, and I don't own a snowblower. I don't know why I don't own a snowblower. Well, I was out shoveling with a regular old red shovel. It was inefficient. It took a ton of physical labor. I'm not over exaggerating. And I got a little bit of the work done. Earlier in the day, my neighbor with a snowblower came over and started because he did his house and our house and then the neighbors. He'll just go crazy with snow blowing the whole neighborhood if you let him. Later in the evening, came back out again because it had snowed even more, blown over, iced over. It was just even more of a mess. And I started with the red shovel. Then I saw the neighbor come out and begin to snow blow. So I came over, good, great rapport, kids hang out all the time. And I started helping him and we started working together. Community, for example. And then a couple of minutes into it, he's like, when I'm finished this side, do you want me to take the snowblower over to your side? Abso-frickin-lutely. So here's the story I'm trying to get at here. You can continue to work with a red shovel in a snowstorm with snow, ice, rain, and cold, no technology, or we can decide to buy a snowblower and be willing to embrace what's available to optimize what we have to do. Your call compliments to those that did so already, And if you need to get on that snow blowing purchasing expedition, let me know and I'll happily help you with that today. All right, so my topic today, well, our topic today, because we're going to share the topic today, is staying in the box and practical ways that even no matter what it looks like out your window right now, you can still write business. Before I start off and before I give my first thoughts on the first topic, give me a quick moment to move Dom around from participant to host, bring him on screen as soon as he's ready to do so, and just push a couple buttons over here. Remember, in the Q&A section, if you have any thoughts, questions, or ideas, feel free to be as interactive as you so choose in today's 9 a.m. call. All right, so we're going to have Dom on in just a minute. I just wanted to make sure he was promoted over to the panelist side when it's his turn. Dom, I'm really small. You're really big on the screen right now. I don't know if that's just me or is that for everybody? And I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes. I'm really
Okay.
small and you're really big. Is it just me or is that for everybody?
You're really big on my screen right now.
Okay.
So, but again, I think we're the two panelists, so it might be how maybe how they do it. So, good
That's
morning,
okay.
everybody.
All righty. So staying in the box, I had an idea that I wanted to run with today, and then I realized it had no relevance to the weather. I wanted to talk about discipline. I thought that seemed like a good topic. Then I looked outside as I was writing yesterday. I'm like, that has no bearing on what everyone's going to deal with. So we're going to have to shelve it and write out something about the weather. So bear with us today, guys. I know we talked a little bit about the weather and how to manage it on Thursday, but we're going to get even more practical today for those that already heard the Thursday talk and for those that may not have any idea what the heck to do with the weather and working this week. Now, a little bit off script, Dom, about 5 years ago, I guess, no, about 6 years ago, during the beginning of COVID, one of the biggest OGs in the industry held his calls, held the agency together. Ironically, was just a few months away or maybe a year away from selling and making millions with a private equity deal. But in the midst of major adversity and disruptions to routine, he had this idea that just write enough to stay in the game. Like just go out and write enough to pay your bills. Not gonna get rich. Not gonna some crazy breakthrough gonna happen. But in the midst of everything that was going on at that point in time, not to equate COVID to a seasonal snowstorm, his mentality was just right enough to stay in the game. And I feel like that seemed, you know, it provided a lot of calm in the middle of what a lot of people didn't know how to do. So at the very core of what we're talking about today, I just want to give people the calm and the confidence and a few concepts that they can still make money even if they're stuck at home or writing on the phone or whatever happens the next 7 days. How's that sound as a thing to dive into today?
Sounds like a great topic. For a lot of people, this may be their first foray into like attempting remote sales, right? So, um, or that person who says, it's just no way I'm going to be able to make it out, or please don't show up at my house, but they do want to talk about insurance. So, yeah, it's about staying in the game this week. Don't let this week derail you.
Yeah. Ironically, at that point in time in the industry, I feel like people fell into one of three categories agents that was. Agents that had enough money that they said to themselves, "Meh, let's see if this thing blows over. I've got enough money in the bank to put my feet up and, do nothing." And I think if most of them were probably okay. Then there were people that were just so routine oriented that no matter how much money they had, they were still going to work, no matter what working looked like. And then there were a lot of people that just purely failed. Like for one reason or the other, they took too much time off. They allowed the problem to get too big. They found the excuse they were finally waiting for. And instead of looking at that level of adversity as an opportunity, they looked at it as a problem and they purely failed. So we're hoping that this week, no one fails, obviously, but nobody thinks they can't make money. So the first one I have on the list of practical ways to stay in the box this week is one of the easiest for agents with a book of business. No matter how big or how small your book of business is, it's virtual policy reviews. Now, you could do a virtual policy review in the middle of summer at a gas station, or you can do it from your home, kitchen table, bedroom, or wherever you are today because you just feel it's not safe to go out. Now, what the heck is a virtual policy review and how do I accomplish that? Pretty simple. Regardless of where your existing book of business information is, it could be a box of old paper applications in your closet. It could be logging into your favorite carrier back office or going to a spreadsheet or a CRM, starting at the top and working your way down. All I'm looking to do in this situation here with a virtual policy review is make contact with someone that I already know who they are and they already know who I am. I'll start off by saying something a little cheesy. Miss Johnson, I'm just reaching out to you today since we're working from home this week, snowed in just like probably you are, and I figured this would be a great time for us to do your annual review. Now, how are you dealing with the weather? Warm up like you would do any other way.
Yep.
After you've warmed up with them, go into the policy that they have. Then go over the funeral inflation chart, how much they have, how old they are. I'll post this in the Slack so you guys can see it later. And then look for easy opportunities for the smallest add-on. Like I'm not even expecting to write 10, 15, 20,000 in additional coverage. I just want to get on base. I just want to contact someone who I sold before, get comfortable with the process and the routine of the day, and write a policy. Now, Dom, this sounds incredibly simple, but what thoughts do you have on conducting virtual policy reviews for our first bullet point for today?
I think they are absolutely necessary. The If you stay in this business long enough, and even if you're, I mean, terrible at referrals, terrible at reviews, people will call you who have policies with you if you do enough volume, right? At least once, twice a month now, I get somebody who calls in, whether it's, hey, so and so gave me your number, or hey, I have a policy with you, or Mr. Wilson. And I can tell from the way they're saying it, they're just kind of hoping I still do insurance. That lets me know I have a problem on that end. That's a conversation for another day.
Yep.
Um, but and then I say, hey, this is a great time. If they reach out to me for any reason, hey, I got a new card, I need to change the owner, whatever it is, I assume that like I go ahead and do a policy review at that moment. I pull up their information that I have on a spreadsheet. I also go then log into the portal, which is great for everybody but GTL. And I go ahead and say, hey, just to confirm, you did get 10,000 or 15,000. You're paying this much a month. Just so you know, that is a whole life. You've got the day one coverage, or we got a two, whatever it is. And they say, great. Or they say, oh, I only got 15,000. And I say, yes, Miss Johnson. And then I wait and shut up because whoever next speaks loses. She goes, oh, I thought I had the 20,000. And I say, okay, well, it's fine. Let's see what an additional 5,000 would be. I run the numbers real quick and I say, has anything changed in your health? She says yes or no. And we go from there. The point is, every time a current client who is currently paying contacts you, that is an opportunity to review their coverage, increase that relationship. And then again, they may offer. You don't have to be real salesy with your current clients, because if it's on their mind and you're just talking about it in general, it's going to come up. So you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
every
yeah, go ahead.
single time a client calls, it's not an annoyance as we oftentimes feel that it is. It's not every single person calling to cancel their policy. All that it is a free lead and a live transfer and an opportunity like Dom is describing to take 5 minutes, situate yourself, review what they currently have, educate them and remind them what they currently have, and then address whatever the phone call was about. Remember, when you're dealing with your existing book of business, there's other pivot options. Have you spoken to them about Medicare, ancillary? If you don't have a book of business and you're saying to yourself right now, this has no bearing on me. Why is he talking about this again? Look, you have a warm market, don't you? You've got your social media, don't you? You've got yourself and the people that are under your roof. Have you taken an opportunity to review your coverage if you have it and write yourself a policy if you haven't? And reminding yourself that it's free the first year. Or as Lewis Burns would say, if you can't sell yourself, how on earth do you expect to sell anybody else a policy today? So, easiest way to start off a weather adverse situation like this is people that already know you, you've already bought from you, and that's the first step in moving forward throughout the course of that day. Before we get into the next one, I'm pretty sure the 20,000 in business I wrote the 1 month that did not go into the field during COVID, a whopping one of those policies was from a brand new person off of a lead. I was buying probably completely illegal Pakistani transfers from someone who probably doesn't have a license to this day. And one of those policies, nice guy in Pennsylvania, still has his Liberty Bankers 6 years later. But I covered most of the bills and has kept most of the routine moving off of step one, virtual policy reviews. Next one, Call your leads. I mean, some guy built a slogan off of this, and I left off the profanity, but call your leads. I don't care if it's a direct mail lead, a digital lead, a Facebook lead, a lead you pulled out of the back seat of your car, just call it. Now that you've got the momentum on your side because you sold someone who already knew you, no matter how big or how small that add-on was, now it's time to get to the grind. Call your leads. Here's the thing. Contact rates, I believe, have to be higher this week. I mean, how many people are just not going to go out no matter what it looks like? Plenty. That means to me, contact rates have to be higher on fresh leads, on last week's leads, on the leads 3 weeks ago, on the leads from 3 years ago. Call the leads. Now we're working on ways to give you even more leads to call. People that set up their CRM, the ads that run into the CRM. We're working on more transfer options available to continue to feed you people to talk to, but you got to pick up the phone and call them. Dom, what a couple tips do you have to share on workflow and work routine, knowing that somebody did step one? They sold something to somebody, and that's already a victory in itself. Now they're calling people that don't know them. What kind of workflow tips would you give that person?
Um, I've been kind of zagging for a while now, so I'm actually going to just talk about my workflow. As you know, I did create a custom video that I run. That's the majority of what I call, not all. It's okay to supplement, right? And you've provided some great resources to supplement. But I did a custom video. I started to really dive into the psychology of, okay, if somebody wants insurance, what does that look like? Okay, what are the biggest problems that your client has? We're all pretty much working the same market. So me going over these should help you. You need to think about what keeps somebody from buying. What keeps somebody from buying? They have low trust. We're in the lowest trust environment ever, whether it's gurus who want to sell you a course and take your money, right? Oh, $1,000, $2,000. I'm going to solve all your problems. Huge problem in the insurance line of business. I'm sure you see the same things I do, Chris. Everybody's looking for the magic solution. We're getting people to pick up the phone. If your phone rings right now, are you going to answer it from a number that just a random number? Think about that. You also need to understand how and this is relevant to in the field and phone agents because we're all need to make that initial contact. I know field agents do have the option to door knock, but who wants to go to the same door 5 to 6 times, right? If you can get that person to pick up the phone. So if you can get that appointment by getting them to pick up the phone, it's very relevant. But pickup rates are lower because the carriers are much more stringent now about flagging calls. I'll give you a tip if you're not deep into telesales. If the same phone number makes more than roughly about 75 to 100 calls in a day, it is likely to get flagged as spam. It then needs to be remediated. That means you need to clear the spam flag from it. How do you do that manually? You then go in and there's 3 different websites for the carriers and you have to submit a form and then it takes a few days and then it should be cleared. There's also services that will monitor it and clear the spam flags for you. But I will tell you, if your number gets flagged as likely spams, potential spam, whatever the different carrier things are, or in robocaller or all those different services, your pickup rates are probably going to cut in half. You will go from roughly maybe a 15 to 20% pickup rate to you're going to be down below 5% easily below 5%, not booking rate, not presentation rate. We're talking just the pickup rate. So you need to be thinking about those things if you in any way use the phone. Some tips that I do, I did go get an EIN, which allowed me to then form a real business in my state. I don't run everything through the business. I don't have agency contracts and all of that stuff because that's not the goal of that. What that allowed me to do was have a business, get a DBA. So doing business as allows you to change to use whatever name you want for your business. And mine is very simply Dominique Wilson Insurance. You might say, why does that matter, Dominique? Because I can then take that to the carriers and register it. So now when I call from my business CRM number, it says Dominique Wilson Insurance. So if I'm calling somebody who saw my face and did that, and it says Dominique Wilson Insurance, who's going to get the pickup? Rando number one or Dominique Wilson Insurance. And even if the phone cuts it off, it will say Dominique Wilson or Dominique Wilso, right? It's going to say something. We're in the age of just picking up and spamming a phone number. Those days are slowly going away. actually quickly going away. The new iOS update, the one that everybody was talking about mid last year, and even I was like, well, I'm not seeing it. It's here. I'm already noticing it on phone calls a lot more. If you say your name, which and the reason for your call, right, you're going to hear that a lot more. Your VA is going to hear that a lot more. So you need to be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
my
mean,
tips.
just getting A2P approved is harder. We've got the support from Agent CRM, and like their job is literally to get that kind of stuff taken care of, and that's even harder for them. But
Yeah.
even more at the basic level, regardless of what last week looked like for you, and regardless of what it looks like outside for you right now, you have to leave last week behind you. I texted this to an agent because I know they've got the capacity to write 3 or 4 applications this week, working a 5-day week, but they have to leave the garbage behind. Like they have to take out the garbage, leave it at the front, have that truck come by and get rid of it, and that garbage is in their head. Leave it behind. No matter how good or how bad your week was last week, you got to put up the bare minimum of production this week. Otherwise, what happens next week if something else happens? And the week after that, if something else happens? I mean, problems come in threes, and in some situations, they compound on each other. So don't make a problem out of one that isn't there. Next one we have, and we're going to go till the 10th inning today, but no longer than 9:35, so stay with me, is call your lapses. I know you don't want to. I don't want to. I know you're afraid to. Like you think they're going to divorce you and you'll end up homeless in an empty apartment. Like it's not that serious. Get over yourself. The best part about calling your lapses is there is literally nothing to lose. You've already lost. It's already charged back for probably speaking. They missed a payment, they canceled, it lapsed. There is literally nothing to lose. It's already charged back. All that it is right now is a free lead. Who doesn't like free leads? Everybody wants free leads. That's one of the easiest marketing campaigns to run in ZipRecruiter. Free leads. No experience needed. Everybody wants that. You already have them.
Right.
These free leads also come with their banking information, their name, their beneficiary's name. Get out of your head and realize if you just simply call them, 1 out of 4 of them will be resolvable in some way that makes you money. Some of them you can't contact, some of them will tell you to screw off, some of them be unable to fix, but 1 out of 4 is a rewrite or a conservation with the carrier and the policy that they already have. You could easily, well, not easily, but practically speaking, write $3,500 of rewrites this week just to put money on the books and keep the momentum moving. Before you do, if you're going to conserve a policy that hasn't completely lapsed, make sure you understand how to do that with whatever the carrier is, whatever the process is to do that. Next, if it's already lapsed, don't rewrite it with the same company. Guess what's going to happen? You ain't getting paid, as they probably say in Texas, right? You ain't getting paid. They only pay first year commission down a hierarchy in the first year. They don't budget to pay first year commissions down a hierarchy several times in the same year. So unfortunately, or fortunately, write it with somebody else. So Dom, how would you tackle briefly, because we've got 2 more to run through in rapid succession, calling your lapses? Because people are terrified. They're afraid to do so, but they're probably some of the easiest ways to stay afloat this week.
I think the moment you get a lapse notice, you need to call it. It is a lapsed person is actually a better lead than a new lead. A brand new lead or someone who just submitted a form. You don't know the reason that they submitted the form. Tire kicker, just want to get the prices. My brother, sister, cousin, the lead, I thought it was whatever, right? But that lapse, you've already presented, you've already gone through everything. They probably already, in some cases, have already gotten a physical policy in the mail. That's as hot as a lead you can get. And again, about a third of the time, it's something simple, right? You didn't ask enough questions when you set up the payment. You were like, oh, they said the third of the month, or they said the first of the month, you set it up on the first. Well, you didn't know they get their check from the pension, not from Social Security. You use Social Security billing and it comes in before their check comes in, right? So this is the one time it needs to be on the second or something, right? Or literally on the first without Social Security billing. There are these little nuanced situations. Or they just forgot that the payment was starting. Right now, that if you send them a text reminder the first 2 months, you can schedule that in your CRM. Wink, wink. Then guess what? Now they're going to remember. Once they make the first couple payments, they're usually good to go. But I'll add one more to that. Payment declines in general. Carriers are getting better about sending you something, most of them, that the payment didn't go through. guess what? You need to treat that as a lapse because if they haven't paid, yes, you may have gotten the commission already, but it's coming back. You're getting a charge back. So just go ahead and call them. You have nothing to lose. Even if they say, yeah, no, I got to cancel, you're in the same spot as a payment decline.
Mhm.
But they may say, oh, hold on, they can make 3 calls. We think all these people are broke and can't have access to nothing. They may make 3 calls and have money. You'll be like, where did they come up with this money from? It doesn't matter.
We're
You don't
hustling.
care.
We're
They
hustling.
called their son, their whatever. Exactly.
Yeah.
They got somebody to cash app it, put in their bank account, and boom, they call you back and say, can I make that payment? Great, absolutely. So yeah, that's definitely what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think it's funny that sometimes we just assume so much about something and forget that they got this far in life for some sort of reason, and if it's important to them, they're going to find a reason to keep it up.
Mhm.
Last but not least, in our final 3 minutes this morning, stay flexible. I am a rigid routine follower. I enjoy things being predictable, expected, and laid out in front of me, but sometimes they're not. Like we have to be flexible at times like this. Times like this can throw things into the wild, but I would suggest taking it 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, working with, whatever's going on with your kids, a house full of snowed-in kids or other adult looming responsibilities. Maybe you're responsible for, elderly parents or what have you, or aunts, uncles, or people in the neighborhood. We're all adults somewhere in the middle of the family tree. Got a lot of stuff you got to take care of. But when you're working just like anybody else. If you had a blue collar job and you were running cable or working for the cable company or the electric company, you were a nurse, doctor, paramedic, or literally anybody else in the blue collar realm, you'd have to go to work. You'd have to find a way to get there, and they wouldn't care what the excuse was if you weren't there. You weren't there. So when you're working, you just have to work. Remember, this week wins count for double. Even the smallest win is double this week. Don't allow the disruptions to be an excuse. Put the extra work in that's necessary and know that everybody here is fully capable of writing 3,500 a week. Let's close out with this. Dom, one of the biggest months you've ever had was the month that you had your child. And for most people in the industry, they wouldn't have done squat. But just share briefly in our final 2 minutes how you turned that month into one of the biggest of your career.
Desperation. No, it's keeping the focus that every moment you have to work is precious in a time like that. Whether it's taking care of a sick family member, a lot of people who are single parents and making this happen, they get it. They know that when their kid goes down for a nap or their kids are at school for that partial pre-K, whatever it is, they know these 3 hours have to count. These 5 hours have to count, whatever it is. Even now, I'm still not back up to a full 8 hour work schedule. But I know the moment I hit this office, that's what I got. Other things that I do I offload my admin time. I bundle it. So like right after this call, I got some stuff to take care of with the baby. So I still won't be hopping straight on the phones, but that's a great time for me to call company carriers, say, hey, this policy did get pushed through or this contracting, right, to check on that, whatever it is. That's a great time to do those things. You're holding the baby or you're doing something else. You got to go, you're driving to and from the school, whatever it is. Hey, hop on the phone, have the phone number saved, have the policy number, whatever you need to call on, put it in a note on your phone and go ahead and call. But putting that stuff in times where you can't really be working anyway is fantastic.
Last but not least, if you're looking to get started with us, there's no better time than right now. We can get you up and running within 48 hours. If you're within your first 6 months of working with us, this is the best time ever to make it happen. People are going to be home. Some of one of the pivotal memories I have, and I'm not suggesting this if you don't feel like it's safe, is driving into the field in 2016 in a Dodge Avenger. It wasn't a Jeep, it wasn't an SUV, it wasn't anything fancy. It was a Dodge Avenger. I beached the car in South Philly on a snowbank. I took a couple leads that were all within walking distance. I went door knocking. There were no preset appointments back there. I got into homes and I wrote over 3,000 in business, mind you, on a very low contract. Got paid more than most Americans would in 1 day and probably half of that day. Spent the rest of the afternoon digging my car out and driving home. It can be done if, like you said, either desperation, will, or want arrives in your head. Remember, if this is just another week for you in the industry, put at least the minimum of production up on the boards to keep things moving because you never know what crazy plot twist will hit you next week. Thank you for being here, starting your week with us, and let's get out there, pick up the phone, and regardless of how you do it, make it different.